Hi, I'm Khan. I'm the lead narrative designer at Deep Silver Dambuster Studios on Dead Island 2.
Hello guys, Gabriel from Serial Killers. Gamescom time. Let's start the questions. First of all, the big one. We heard a long time nothing from Dead Island. Can you give us any details? How was the transition to your studio, or any details on why it took so long for the game to finally find a release date and a way out of this?
Sure. So, Dambuster has been working on the game in earnest for 4 years, which is actually a fairly standard development cycle. So we were given the game in 2018. We're a wholly owned studio from Deep Silver, and they own the IP. So we were really pleased, honored, lucky to be invited to work on the game. I can't obviously really comment on anyone else's work. It's not our work. So, but yeah, it's been a really fascinating challenge to find what we liked most about Dead Island and bring that to the fore. And we wanted to make sure that we had a really solid playable demo, a really good trailer as well and everything, but that we had a game that we were confident in before we announced, which is why we've been in stealth mode for about 2 years.
In terms of challenges, what was the biggest challenge when you first did get the transition from the NASD?
So one was, I think, figuring out how we could double down on, again, what we loved about the franchise, which is that up-close combat. I mean, at the time, it was kind of unusual for zombie games for this zombie to be like here. You know, it's really in your face. It's not a horde of sort of gray-brown monsters. It's one or two zombies trying to kill you really up close and personal. We like our mayhem artisanal, you know, locally sourced. But, you know, how could we make that better? How could we make that combat better? So for the first year, at least, we were developing this cutting-edge tech in-house from the scratch, the Flesh system, which is the fully locational evisceration system for humanoids. And the locational part is actually kind of the important bit there because it's all procedural. It's not, you know, pre-filmed and bespoke, beautiful little, moments. It's whatever you hit or bludgeon or burn or melt or slice a zombie with, the reaction physically is as accurate as we could get it. We built these zombies from the organs up. They have layers of flesh and muscle and fat and skin and organs that go wobble when you eviscerate them. So one of the challenges was how do we take this combat that's really fun and make it like modern and cutting edge and even more fun. The other challenge, I think, was, and what is the tone of the game? What do we want to do in terms of story, in terms of character? Because, you know, it's really quite brutal combat, and that's a very fine line to walk, to then put like a serious story on top of combat that's almost ridiculous in its over-the-top splatteriness. But also, you can't be too slapstick and too jokey about it. It feels a bit almost disrespectful, You're like, that was a person, I guess, once. So yeah, finding that tone, choosing it, being very clear about what the sort of pulp influences we wanted to work with was one of the challenges for sure.
The location is set in Los Angeles. Can you give us a small hint on how much we can expect from Los Angeles, like the whole city, or?
It's not a one-to-one or anything. Yeah. You're not going to be able to play our game and then wander around LA and know exactly where you are. So we did try to cover a lot of representative kind of districts and areas. These sort of picture postcard locations almost. I mean, if you think about it, Hollywood has spent more than a century very carefully exporting the idea of Hollywood. Everybody, one of the reasons we chose Los Angeles, the franchise is built around this idea of kind of paradise gone to hell. And one of the paradise, Dead Island 1, was on this resort island of Hanoi. That makes a lot of sense. So again, how do we make that modern? LA is a modern paradise in terms of the sun and the sand and the palm trees, yes, but it's also a modern aspirational paradise. People want to make it in LA. They want to go to Hollywood and be an influencer and be a rock star and be an A-list movie star, and so everybody in the world has an idea of what LA kind of looks like and should feel like. And that's what we've really tried to get the essence of those locations. So I can tell you, for example, that you get to make a real mess in some of the like huge mansions of the rich and the famous in Bel Air. You get to see sort of iconic beachside locations in Santa Monica, like Muscle Beach. So you'll get to see some fun bits and pieces from all over LA, and of course LA is huge, so there's room for expansion in the future.
Yep. Can we expect some improvements on the enemy AI? Did you work on that, or?
I didn't personally, so I'm more on the story side of things. But you played the demo?
Yeah.
I think So I hope that you saw that some of our zombies are a little smarter than maybe they used to be. We have kind of leaned on the idea of we have Apex variant zombies that are kind of better at being zombie than other zombies, which are very sort of classic shambling grr-rarg brains, But between the two of them, because especially zombies can kind of influence and buff each other up as well, and we have this huge roster of zombie types, both visual types and gameplay types, I think we've gotten something that makes it feel really kind of tactical and challenging. You can't just sort of go on autopilot and button mash your way through our fights. The AI, we've got a really good AI team and weapons team and enemy team, and they've all gotten together to make combat feel a lot more thoughtful, a lot more analytical in a way, for having a zombie trying to bite your face off.
When your team had a look at the first game, was there anything you can mention that you found in the first game that you didn't want to be in the second game? Like a feature that people didn't like, or?
I would say there's maybe two things that come to mind. One, again, is the change in tone, because the first game had the combat we loved, and the tone sometimes was trying to be quite serious, quite sort of dramatic, and that can sometimes fight with the gameplay. So that's one reason we went for more of a pulp tone. And I think the second thing is that our level design is really like crafted with the intention of being in a fight as often as possible. You're like in the mix, you're on the streets, in the fight. And that was one reason that, if you make if you construct a level that is really good for driving, it's often not so good for that. So that was one of the changes, was that level design becoming much more streamlined, much more focused, and LA is kind of flat. It's not a super vertical city because earthquakes. So it lent itself to that. You can kind of funnel people through in that way as well.
So we saw that you gonna integrate a co-op mode. I think up to 3 players. Can you give us any details on the progression or a cross progression, like?
We're actually not going into details on co-op at the moment, except for the fact that it is 3-player co-op, because you have to leave us something to psych people up about a little closer to the date.
Okay. As final question, when you go through the whole game, the whole project, is there one thing you really want players to know about it? Like one feature that they can look forward to?
Now I've got 3 in mind, so I'll try. One thing I will say, that from a narrative point of view, I'm really proud of the NPC sort of dialogue and things that we've got. If you are in one of our sort of zombie-free zones, where you're repairing your weapons or doing things, kind of take a listen. There's some interesting and fun conversations. We had a lot of fun with the writing of that. But in terms of the more of the core experience, I'd say Dead Island 2 is all about figuring out what you like to do and what you want to get good at, and letting you do that. So there is no one best weapon or even weapon type. There is no obvious, correct way to win and fight and play this game at all, I think. There's no, skill loadout that is the metagame says I should always have this. And that would not work, in fact, because you've got your heavily modded weapon that does fire damage, and then you come across a firefighter zombie, and fire damage, he shrugs it off. Yeah. So you've got to switch your weapons, you got to switch your style. You can switch your skills in midair. You could leap and switch skills and land with different skills than you had when you
Awesome.
when you took off. So I would say it's a toy box. We've given you a combat toy box. So kind of I would say experiment, go nuts, and see what you can come up with. There's some really fun, unexpected combinations we found even just as devs playtesting it.
Great. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for yours. Pre-orders are open now.